Should you try the gluten-free, casein-free diet for your child? That is what I'll cover in this episode. So there's a lot of conflicting opinions and research out there regarding the benefits of a gluten-free, casein-free diet for autistic children. And just in case you are not aware of what the diet is, it's basically gluten is a set of proteins in certain grains like wheat, etc. And casein is the protein in milk. So the gluten-free casein-free diet excludes all products that contain gluten and casein, so dairy, all dairy except butter, because there's almost no proteins in butter. It's almost entirely fat. And then gluten-containing foods, so breads and all sorts of kind of other things like cookies, cereals, etc., unless they're gluten-free. And so there's several potential benefits of the gluten-free casein-free diet. So first of all, many children have sensitivities to gluten and casein, and these sensitivities cause inflammation in the gut and other immune reactions. So your child could be eating these foods, and there might not be visible gut upset, but the inflammation in the gut, the immune reactions, they could be causing your child, health issues. And the problem with these food sensitivities is they may not show up on the basic food sensitivity panels that you can run. So, you might run a standard IgG test for food sensitivities and see no reactivity to milk or wheat or whatever, and you might think it's okay, but there could be some small little protein that was not detected that is causing some type of inflammation. So that's one reason why the gluten-free, casein-free diet is potentially beneficial. Now, the other thing is that antibodies that the immune system creates to the actual gluten or cow's milk proteins, some of them could potentially cross-react with the body's tissues, which can also cause tissue damage, inflammation, and autoimmune reactions. So what I mean by this is when the proteins, those gluten or cow's milk proteins, get into the bloodstream, the immune system will mark them as antigens, something to be, attacked, and it will produce antibodies, which is what attacks the antigens. Now the problem is that those parts of those gluten or cow's milk proteins, the shape of the actual protein resembles our body's tissues. So when we have the antibodies created by the immune system, they can roam around in the blood and see our tissues and mistake them for those cow's milk proteins or gluten proteins, and they can attack our own tissues. So that is cross-reactivity. It's also called molecular mimicry. It's another mechanism by which gluten and casein can actually can have negative consequences in our body, and many autistic children have this problem. The next issue is that of these things called opioids or opiate-like peptides. They're similar to morphine. So these opioid particles, they can form during the incomplete digestion of gluten and casein in the gut, and they can basically get into the bloodstream, and then they can get into the central nervous system, and once there they basically exert negative effects on behavior health by binding to our opiate receptors in the brain. So I have quite a lot of research in my book that has shown that opioid peptides can increase autistic symptoms. They can cause increases in aggression, self-abusive behavior, lack of attention, sleepiness. Obviously, you can imagine they're opioids, so they can cause sleepiness. They can contribute to lower antioxidant levels, increased oxidative stress, and other reactions. They can exert a negative influence on the gastrointestinal, immune, and nervous systems, and they can basically cause a number of other problems in the gut, with the immune system, and elsewhere in the body, including affecting certain neurotransmitter systems, which obviously has behavioral effects. Another benefit of the gluten-free casein-free diet is that it can help to normalize a leaky gut. So reducing those foods or eliminating them completely can help the gut to heal. And there's a few other benefits as well. But in terms of what the science has shown, so the studies that I cite in my book, the researchers have found over the years improvements in things like communication and use of language following a gluten-free casein-free diet, improved attention and concentration, improved social integration and interaction, improvements in self-injurious behavior, improvements in repetitive or stereotyped patterns of behavior, improved motor coordination, and decreases in hyperactivity. So there's been a lot of research done. Not all of it has found the diet to be beneficial, but a lot of it has. And it's typically the longer studies that have shown some type of improvement. So, when I say a longer study, I mean 12 months, for example. And many studies that have been shorter, like let's say 12 weeks, 3 months or whatever, they have shown less benefits. So basically what that means is that you need to take your time with the diet, do it well, and not expect too much too soon. Ideally you'd want to do it for 3 to 6 months before starting to, gauge, is it having a good effect or not on your child. So that's the results from studies. But in terms of parent-reported benefits, there's been a lot of kind of different anecdotal reports and this kind of thing. Some parent-reported benefits of the gluten-free casein-free diet include improved gastrointestinal function, less constipation and diarrhea, better sleep, less irritability, hyperactivity, and stimulatory behaviors, decreased emotional volatility and improved mood, increased appetite for other foods, fewer rashes or skin issues, less runny noses and other allergic type reactions, improved verbalization, eye contact, and attention. So a lot of potentially good things can happen by trying the gluten-free casein-free diet. Now, not every child will benefit from the gluten-free casein-free diet. So you need to manage your expectations when you implement this diet. Now, in terms of the research that has not found it to be beneficial, here is what I would have to say about that, right? So I already addressed that the longer studies seem to have shown some type of improvement rather than the short ones. So a lot of the studies have been too short for us to be able to see the full benefit of the diet. So that's one reason why research on the diet is inconclusive. Now, there's other confounding factors. So it's unclear how well parents stuck to the diets in the studies. So if they didn't follow through well, it could easily skew the researchers' results negatively. So the parents don't follow the diet well, and then at the end, their child has no noticeable improvement because of that. Another reason why some studies have shown no improvements is that a lot of the time they substitute, the gluten-free substitutes such as corn, soy, or legumes, and these can also cause reactions in the children. So the point there is that, they may have removed gluten and casein from the diet, but those, soy, corn, or other substitutes in the diet could also have been causing some type of reaction. So the full benefits of the diet may not have been realized because of that. And finally, the other reason I think that many studies have not found the diet to be beneficial is if the children had other underlying health problems like gut infections, leaky gut, other food sensitivities, reacting to the newly introduced foods, then it's less likely that changing a couple of variables like removing casein or the baked goods and other gluten containing products, it's less likely that will have a positive effect. So we need to always take a more holistic approach. As I always say, the gluten-free casein-free diet is only one piece of a much bigger puzzle. So to kind of sum up what I've covered so far, the research has been inconclusive, but we have a lot of research that has shown positive effects from the gluten-free casein-free diet. Many parents have had positive effects, and generally the parents that stuck to the diet more strictly got the better results. So if you're going to do it, you need to do it well. So you probably are getting from the discussion so far that I definitely recommend at least trying the gluten-free casein-free diet. In fact, I recommend trying it for at least 3 to 6 months, and hopefully you do an all organic diet. That's very important. Your child's diet should always be organic, no matter if you're doing autoimmune paleo or gluten-free, casein-free, or ketogenic or low oxalate. It should always be organic for reasons I've covered before, but briefly, to reduce the toxic chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, and the plethora of other toxic sludge that is thrown onto conventionally farmed produce and conventionally farmed animals' feed and so on. So that's kind of a quick little overview of the potential benefits of the gluten-free casein-free diet. In future episodes, I'll go over how to go about implementing the diet, some things to watch out for. So I hope that you found this episode helpful, and I'll see you on the next one.